you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes?
In
Uvalde.
somewhere in Texas.
Yeah, Uvalde.
I don't know how to pronounce that. Jim, are you there?
Hi, Jim.
Yes, how y'all doing?
Hi, how
Good.
are you?
Are y'all able to hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is my first time calling in. I've been listening to y'all for almost a year now, and I'll tell you what, y'all do a wonderful job. It's broadened my perspective on things. But anyways, a little background on myself. I grew up as a Mormon in the Mormon church. That's how I was brought up. And until later on in my adult life, I kind of slowly just drifted away from it. And then it wasn't until probably about 5 years ago, after I got married, that I really started to pay attention to my supposed beliefs. And slowly over time, just as I studied and did my research and all that, I discovered that what I was believing in was not rational. But my wife is a believer. Her whole entire family are believers. In fact, some of them are actually ministers. One of them studying to become a minister. And then, of course, my side of the family all being Mormons. So this has been a real difficult situation or dilemma for me. I have not come out to my side of the family. I tried talking to my dad about it a little bit. I don't know if he really fully understood what I was getting at, and the rest of them I haven't told. Now my wife knows, and I think some of them in her family have an idea, but I'm just not really sure how to go about this.
How does your wife feel about it? I think that's more than anything your parents might have to say, like the most important question right now.
Well, at first it kind of bothered her, and then now she's grown to accept it and allow me to, believe how I believe, and we don't get into any religious discussions, and her family for the most part has stopped saying, having any kind of religious, conversations around me. So I think they have an idea, but I'm not real big on going through life, living a lie. I don't think I can continue to have get-togethers with my family and still sit there and pretend that I'm bowing my head, during prayers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can tell you some of the ways I have handled that with my family, because my father was very religious. My stepmother is still very religious. My father was actually, before his death, he was actually preparing to enter the seminary to become a Methodist minister, in his 60s. And so he was very religious. And he knew that I didn't believe. And I think that he had convinced himself that I was just agnostic. His definition of agnostic and mine are not the same, or were not the same. But that was his thing, is that, I just didn't know. And we had what I would consider to be a don't ask, don't tell policy. He didn't really want to have that conversation with me, so he didn't bring it up. And I didn't bring it up either. So basically what we had decided was that our relationship was more important than a difference of beliefs, and so that we could enjoy each other's company and spend time together without that becoming like the defining thing in our relationship. And I know how much my dad enjoyed his church, and how important those beliefs were to him. But he still made me more important. He believed that I was more important than that, and I really appreciate that. And so I hope that you can get to that point with your family as well.
Well, for now, I've been treating it as a strictly a need-to-know basis.
Yeah.
As far as close friends that I have that are fairly open-minded, I've made it known to them. But on my side of the family, I just think that it would be absolutely devastating. I don't know how it would go if I just completely came out to everyone.
Well, first of all, I've never had to come out to my family because my family is full of atheists. So it's not a problem for me, and so you can take this advice with a pound of salt if you want. For what it's worth, my observation of people who are hiding their atheism from their families and are serious about their atheism is that the families find out sooner or later. And if they don't find out from you, they still find out, and then there's that extra dimension of being uncomfortable that you've been hiding it or in their view, lying to them.
Yeah.
So my feeling, which nobody ever follows this advice, so just know that you wouldn't be the first, but if I were in the situation, I'd probably wind up having to say it because I don't think you're going to be satisfied living a lie about it.
Yeah.
And if the family decides to break it off with you, then you just have to say that's their loss.
Yeah.
But that's really difficult advice.
I've been trying to prepare myself for that possible outcome in the event I go ahead and decide to come out. Now, as far as other people that are not family related but just friends, I've got some friends that are very religious. And in fact, it was about 2 hours ago today I called him up just to have a conversation, and he expressed a religious opinion about something we were talking about, and I feel that if someone's going to express their religious opinions or views, bring it out in the open, that's an invitation for me to say how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And he got very upset. I know we're still friends and all that, but he got very upset, and I told him, I said, well, don't get upset. You did bring up, you did express your opinions on some religious views, so if you're going to do that, expect that someone else is going to do the same thing in return, even if they're completely opposite of your views.
Right, and you're in a more difficult situation than some other people might be just because you're sort of out on the outer reaches of Texas.
Yeah.
And you're in an area that's gonna be full of religious people, and there's no getting around that. So, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, and my family lives in, I guess in some ways I'm very fortunate because I don't live near where most of my family lives. They live in Alabama. I live in Texas. When I would go home, I'd be surrounded by very religious people. And so they're going to do some stuff that I'm not going to participate in. Like, they're going to pray over their food or whatever. They're going to pray at the drop of a hat and praise Jesus and all this stuff. And I'm not going to participate in any of that stuff. And really where it came up with my family, where where my dad first realized that I'm not a believer, was when they were inviting me. I was home visiting, and they invited me to go to church with them, and I declined. And so then my dad was asking, why don't you want to go to church with us? And so I told him. And like I said, it came down to, he did not agree. He promised to pray for me. I refrained from telling him that I would think for him. But that's it really was a pretty civil conversation, even though I could tell he was very unhappy. And it worked out okay because he was willing to put that aside to preserve, the peace in the family, basically. What you're going to have to do is determine whether, first of all, whether hiding who you are, what you believe, is something you're willing to do in order to preserve a relationship with your family, and whether this relationship that's based on, in part, on a lie, is worth preserving, because that's basically what you're doing. You're going to sacrifice part of yourself to preserve a relationship with people who may not do the same for you. So there's not an easy, decision to be made here. And I will tell you that this is the exact same decision that lots of gay kids have to make when they decide whether or not they're going to come out, you know. And I can't promise you there's going to be a happy ending.
Yeah, but
So,
I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
also, if you have no one there who can be your friend after you come out, then nothing is saying that you have to stay where you are forever.
Yeah.
But I mean, of
Yeah.
course, this is something that you're going to have to deal with your wife also.
Yeah.
And some of the question is how closely bonded your wife is to her family and yours, and how serious she is about the religion, and if that's going to be a problem in your relationship going forward. Good luck.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate y'all's time, and you know, I'll keep listening to y'all's show, and it has really helped me out a whole lot.
Okay,
But,
I feel for you,
well,
Jim.
Yeah, and I wish we had more to offer you, but you know, we just can't promise you there's going to be, you know, a great outcome or that it's not going to be difficult for you.
And I hope sometime in the near future, you know, when I get a little more time off, hopefully I can even drop in and be involved in one of y'all's functions.
Yeah, well, feel
be
free.
wonderful.
Yeah, we would love to have you here.
All right. Well, y'all have a good day.
All right,
All right,
thanks.
and God bless.
All right,
I mean, okay, bye.